one. So there's a lot of questions going on with the Brooklyn Nets. And will Kyrie Irving end up getting bought out? Will he end up getting traded? What's going to end up happening with him? Will Kevin Durant finally request a trade? And this time, will Brooklyn actually look to move him? We've gotten lots of reports that many teams have reached out to Brooklyn about Kevin Durant, but they don't seem really ready to trade for him yet. They started out and looked really good after, the Kyrie Irving suspension, and now they're starting to kind of come back to reality again, losing to the Lakers, and then also losing last night in a absolute embarrassing blowout style fashion. I mean, they gave up 153 points. I don't know how you give up that many points, but nonetheless, it's insane. They are, kind of, again, coming back down to reality a little bit here. And, the Kings, yes, they've been kind of on a bit of a run. They've looked really good as of late, but 153 points is insane. And the Brooklyn Nets just can't seem to stop anybody. Now, Kyrie doesn't help with that, but he does make them a better team, able to score more, be more effective. Although they have looked better without him, not running as many isolation plays, moving the ball more. But nonetheless, it's very likely that this, at worst case, will be the last season that we see with these two. I don't see Kyrie Irving sticking around beyond this season. And if he leaves, then chances are Kevin Durant's going to want out as well, and then he's going to ask for a trade again. And one team that is interested in Kevin Durant is the Philadelphia 76ers. So we got a report that the Philadelphia 76ers have reached out about Kevin Durant and have Kevin Durant on their radar. And it makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know exactly what Philly would be able to give up, at least as far as like pick situations go. But Philadelphia does have Maxey, who, I wouldn't mind taking if you were a team that was about to rebuild, right? If you're a team that's on the decision making of like, hey, we're going to start from scratch here, and we need a package to put together. I mean, you could do worse than a player like Tyrese Maxey, who's been absolutely killing it. He's, second, third option on a Philly team. Imagine if he's your first or second option. So you could probably get a package of, like, say, Maxey, Thibault. Probably you'd have to throw in like a Tobias Harris or something like that just to make salaries work and things along those lines. But if you can, maybe get a Kormaz, Thibault, say Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey for whatever combination you need to make the salaries work, something like that. So you get basically some good young talent. Now, if you're Philly, you're doing this because you got James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid. You're probably the best team in the league, hands down. You got the best trio in the league, hands down. Now you don't have to worry about James Harden and his playoff history, right? James Harden is a guy that is notorious for not showing up come playoff time. You have a guy like Kevin Durant. You got a guy that's one of the best closers and just all-around scorers in NBA history, right? I mean, Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid alone would probably be enough to win an NBA championship. Add in James Harden. James Harden and Joel Embiid might be enough to win a championship if they can kind of turn around. They've been kind of struggling lately too, but James Harden's been out. And Joel Embiid's just continuing the heroics. But you add these three together, come on. I mean, they're terrifying. I mean, James Harden gets to kind of just play point guard, gets to facilitate. He'd probably get 20 assists a game. He's still good enough and crafty enough where he's gonna get some points, especially in the regular season. You'd still have guys like PJ Tucker on the roster to kind of add some toughness and that kind of bully ball. You'd still have like shooters like Daniel House and Shake Milton. So I mean, you'd have guys, and especially if you did this on the offseason, you could pick up some vet minimum deals, some guys that could come in and be some contributors, some veterans, maybe some younger talent. I mean, look at like what the Lakers were able to do with just getting young guys. They've been able to get a couple young guys every season, with Malik Monk, and then Lonnie Walker has been really solid for them. Even like Troy Brown. Like if you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid, you don't need much else, right? You got the scoring, and you got the star power to rattle off some wins and likely win a championship. You're just looking for guys that kind of come in and do the dirty work. PJ Tucker could be a guy that could do that. So it makes sense why Philly would want to go and acquire Kevin Durant. One, is Philly a place that Kevin Durant would want to go to? Not that Kevin Durant has a ton of power, right? But no team's really going to want to trade for a player that is just going to want out themselves, right? You don't want to trade for a guy that doesn't want to be there because now, it could just get messy. And now you're in the net situation all over again, right? And that's what many teams don't want to do. But Brooklyn has also shown like they don't care what Kevin Durant thinks or how Kevin Durant feels. Like they'll force his hand and make him stay if they want to make him stay. But I really do think if Kevin Durant says he wants out again, you got to trade him. You can't keep playing these games. You can't keep going around because by the time you reach the point where you're like, okay, fine, let's trade him, you're probably not getting anything of value. Like especially in the offseason, there's probably a lot of teams that would, there's a lot of teams that would trade for Kevin Durant in general. But there may be teams that are willing to give up more in the offseason to get Kevin Durant because the way that they'd be looking at it is like, we'd get a full training camp, full, instead of having him just come in and try to figure it out, plug and play, you actually have him comes in, gets the full training camp, gets to learn the system, and now you're off to the races trying to compete for a championship. But also you'll have some teams that are like on the cusp that maybe look at it and go, hey, Kevin Durant might be the missing piece we need, especially if we can, do a trade and not give up the bulk of our guys, right? Take a team like the Celtics, right? They offered Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. There was Derek White, some firsts that were part of the reports, the rumors that were out there. Well, maybe they'd revisit that in the offseason. Maybe if they have a bad first, second round exit, something like that, and they're like, hey, well, Jaylen Brown might leave, so why not get something for him now? We could do worse than Kevin Durant. At least Kevin Durant we'd have on our roster for a couple years. Just a thought, right? Philly could be another team. Like if they get eliminated again in say the first or second round, they could be looking at it as like, hey, we need to do something. Let's just go all in for Kevin Durant and get Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid. It makes a lot of sense. Like if you're Philly, why wouldn't you want to go get Kevin Durant to pair with the James Harden and Joel Embiid? I just think, look, if you can get Kevin Durant, you got to do it if you're Philly. I think Kevin Durant definitely puts you over the top, assuming everyone's healthy. Again, Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant might be one of the best duos ever. Like just from just an all-around standpoint, seriously, like that would be terrifying. And then you add James Harden. James Harden becomes your third option. That's insane to think about, right? With James Harden, all his talent, what he's been able to do, and also this season before injury, he was looking like the James Harden of old. He was looking really good for Philly. And so if you could have that James Harden with the Kevin Durant we know and love and the Joel Embiid we know and love, man, Philly could really make some noise. Like Philly could be very good and a very just talented team, and you'd have your guy that could close games for you. You'd have your go-to guy. You'd have your the guy that could show up in the big moments. Kevin Durant's one of the greatest closers we've ever seen in the game of basketball. One of the greatest scorers we've ever seen in the game of basketball. Just having him, in tight playoff games, just going to town. You can't double team him. You can't triple team him. You can't do a lot of the things that we've seen teams do against like him with the Nets, right? Or, just even OKC, stuff like that, right? This would kind of be like when he was in, Golden State, where it's like, there's just too much talent around him. And just think of all the mismatches. Joel Embiid is already a monster mismatch. Now you add, James Harden and him just being a mismatch. And then you add Kevin Durant, who might be one of, if not the greatest mismatches ever. Like, it's insane. It would just be, good luck trying to guard the Sixers. But I'm curious to see how it all unfolds. I'm curious to see how it all develops. I'm curious to see if they even consider trading him this year, come trade deadline. Just because, they're not doing very well. They started off just poorly. They've gone on a nice little stretch since Vaughn took over, and really picked up the defense, really picked up the offense as well. And now the last few games at least kind of regressed, got back to their old ways. So maybe that's just who they are. Maybe they just kind of overachieved because all the drama, controversy, everything going around, losing your head coach, Kyrie being suspended, all that stuff. Maybe it was just kind of like, hey, let's like try to rally the troops and rattle off a couple wins. But I'm curious to see how this goes going forward. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What would you think about Kevin Durant going to Philly? And do you think Philly, one, can even trade for Kevin Durant? And two, do you think that they should? Or do you think that no, go build a team, don't do the trio? Although, seriously, if you have Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and James Harden, me and you watching this video right now could probably be the other two people and they'd still win a championship. That's just an insane amount of talent. Assuming everyone's healthy, they gel, chemistry, all that stuff is important as well. And James Harden, he didn't leave the Nets because of Kevin Durant. He left the Nets because of Kyrie Irving and just the dysfunction of the organization, which turned out to be a good, solid move. I mean, the organization is absolutely dysfunctional. But again, however you feel, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comment section below.